On A Whim.
Hello, On A Whim listeners, and welcome to episode 16, the season finale of season 2 of the On A Whim podcast. Today, I am joined by a cacophony of co-hosts. Every co-host from season 2 has joined us today. Let's go around the table. I'm Paul Vella.
Jabari Lewis Smith.
Welcome back, Jabari.
Hi.
This is Grover.
Hi, Jabari.
I like Grover's just like, welcome back, Jabari. This is Grover.
This is Grover. Just the fetus, like, this is Grover.
That's the most energy you're gonna get.
I'm Shadoe.
Hi, Shadoe.
Get to talk with everybody. With Shadoe.
You get to talk. You are allowed to speak. That's what it comes down to. So yes, Jabari, it's good to have you back. How is it in the Great North Wonder up there in Washington
It's
State?
pretty great. Yeah, the weather is pretty nice. It's been a constant 60 or 70 degrees. I heard in California it's been like 95 degrees and stuff. I'm like, wow, sucks to be there. Fry.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been outside in days.
Wow.
Oh man.
Well, yeah, that's Grover. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, Grover, as we've gone over in Grover's episodes, Grover does like being a hermit and not come out of his
Yeah,
house
my
for
neighbors
days.
call me like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, there's...
They're doing a welfare check.
You haven't, like, usually trash days on like Wednesday or something. They're like, he didn't take his trash out. Is he all right? Is he alive?
He didn't produce enough trash.
I mean, Grover produces so much garbage. I mean,
Yeah, it comes out of my
is.
mouth as opposed to...
Oh no.
Oh man.
Oh goodness. And then Shadoe, thanks for coming back, Shadoe, for we as you did your most recent episode, you were the
Yes.
co-host, and that was your stint. So thanks for coming back. And so listeners, this is it for season 2. We're gonna go on a bit of a hiatus. We have a multitude of projects to take care of in the coming weeks, getting ready for release. Grover, do you want to go more into that about releasing Spellbearers? How's that coming along?
So I guess we'll make this On A Whim exclusive, if you will. But we recently...
Ooh, you hear it here first,
we recently
listeners.
got the Spellbearers build working on Xbox. So we in the last couple of weeks, we've been doing just internal tests on it right now. And it's been working pretty well. There's a little bit of frame drops in the second level that we're trying to address, but once we get that sorted out, I think we'll be in pretty good shape. And then not Spellbearers, for Solitria, we just went into Chapter 4 alpha testing. I'm sorry to put the burden on you for sending out all those codes, Paul.
It's fine. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm not bitter. I promise.
We ended up having there was 62, and then when I closed the thing yesterday, it was 69 of them. Right. Nice.
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 Nice. So,
And all of a sudden, we all devolved to internet culture. That's great.
so yeah, that was good. And then so it's gonna be me fixing bugs and putting out fires. And me and Jabari we just recently submitted our Corpse Castle and Spellbearers into Indiecade. So that was some all-nighters that were pulled.
I mean that's Whim Indie in a nutshell, though, right? I mean, we come to a deadline we impose on ourselves, and we work so hard to meet it, and then some things happen completely out of our control, and then we just have to deal with it.
The first 2 logos had a moon in the background because we would just work late nights and all that stuff, and I'm like, nope, can't do that anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
But me sending out those codes, that's nothing, no biggie for me. The way I told Grover was, dude, this is what I do. Let me do it. You guys have bigger fish to fry. And it ended up being that way. You did have bigger fish to fry with Indiecade.
So shout out to Indiecade.
I was happy
and letting us submit to their festival. So
You better like our game, Indicate. If you're
No,
listening.
Indicate is a wonderful institution, and I hope that they allow us to demonstrate in a few months. That's how I'm gonna say that.
Oh, that would be great. That would be most good.
I'm not saying this with like any bitter or anything like that. I've been to Indicate almost every year. They've been holding it since we submitted Antics 5 or 6 years ago. And there's just all kinds of like just awesome games and technologies that I didn't know about. Right, there was a NES game I played where they it was an 8-player Nintendo game, and what they did was they modified the Nintendo controllers so that there was only one button on it. So like one person, like player 1 only can move left. That was it. Player 2 can only press A. That's it. Player 3 can only press right. And then they're all controlling one character to get through a level.
It's like
that sounds fun.
It's like Twitch plays Pokemon meets Overcooked.
Yeah, Twitch plays Pokemon meets Overcooked meets 80s retro gaming. And I was like, wow, that is just really, it's not a game you could play online or anything like. Well, I guess you could, but it's not as fun. But it's just playing old school technology with limited buttons, and I see innovative things like that in Indicate. And I asked them, like, hey, are you guys ever going to release this game? And they're like, oh no, this was just for Indicate. That's it. No plans to release the game.
Just for the lols.
Nope. So
that seems like a waste.
Oh
yeah, there was another game. I didn't mean to hijack this with Indicate. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's good.
No, by all means, continue. This is
there was another game that me and Deborah and Jabari and Lucia we played at the last in-person Indicate in the before times. And Jabari, I don't know if you remember it, but like we had to take, like, it was this puppeteer standing behind a wall and sticking puppets through the wall, and we had to use our phones to take pictures of the puppets, right? And he would take a look at our phones and take a look at the pictures that we did, and he would grade them like Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
That was pretty cool. It was like a real life Pokemon Snap. Speaking of which, Pokemon Snap just came out. Yeah, just came out.
That's coming out, or has it been released already?
It came out on Friday.
It did come out.
Did you get it yet?
No, I haven't got it.
I thought it was going to be released in like July.
Added to the stack of shame.
Yeah.
More to add.
How about you, Jabari, Shadoe? Do you two plan on getting Pokemon Snap?
Gotta
what console is that for?
the Switch.
Come on, Switch.
Yeah.
Shadow's
Shadow's not getting it.
I mean, I don't have one of those, so no.
Yeah, okay, fair. That's fair.
Operation Get Shadoe a Switch.
That's on my to-do list.
I mean, in the Shadoe episodes, we do talk about adulting, right? And having to adult, and having to-do lists comes into play in that. And I know, speaking personally, my to-do list just keeps going. I mean, it's like you drop toilet paper and it unfurs, right? I feel like that's my to-do list. Like I can never cross everything off of it at any given time. Anytime I think it's like any free time I have, I'm ignoring something on the to-do list. I don't know, Jabari, I think we talked about that too, right? Is it something you experience? You just can't cross things off your list?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you complete one task, but 3 more pop up, and it just keeps going on until you're in your grave. So I kind of accepted it.
This went dark really quick.
Yes, it did go dark. You okay, Jabari?
Yeah, I'm okay. Stressed out, but going.
That's Celatria in a nutshell. Because with Celatria, you complete one task and it's like a Hydra. Okay, one task is done, and then 3 tasks out of that one task pop up. And next thing you know, it's like nothing's going down, or it's going down really, really slowly. Like, it's like one thing's like, okay, get Shadoe's voiceover, like Shadoe's edited line. Okay, implement it into the cutscene. Oh, this bugs the cutscene. Okay, here's another task to edit the cutscene to fix for the length. And I'm just like, the next thing you know, it's taken 2 hours. And
you look at the clock and 5 hours have passed, and you're like I was meant to eat.
What? That's my Saturday. Time to play Age of Empires.
What happened to that? with Shadoe. You as a day zero person, Jabari can speak to this as well. Our to-do list checking off has improved though, right? Grover's done a lot to actually make a to-do list as opposed to just using a wall of Post-it notes, right?
Yes.
Do you remember the wall of Post-it notes?
I don't remember the Post-it notes, but I remember we had a whiteboard that was just like constantly covered in text.
It still is.
I mean, it still is definitely full of text, but now everything is also online. But like every to-do list that has ever existed, I don't pay attention to it. Sorry, Grover.
Fair. And Jabari, I'm sure you had to have a to-do list when you're moving up north, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you had to have something going. I mean, I have to hand it off to you. I don't know what kind of magic you use, dark magic, light magic. I don't know. How did you stay on things still? Like, I mean,
did I?
I had to praise you in every episode. Because you were still working behind the scenes for On A Whim.
Like uploading like On A Whim and stuff like that. That's the easier stuff. So like doing those tasks actually like relieves me. I'm like, okay, I know what to do exactly. I don't have to use my brain too much. I just have to make sure that this is going on YouTube. This is going on Anchor. Making sure that there's no audio issues, and all that good stuff. And then I'm just like, okay, that's an hour and a half of my time. And I look at my other stuff on my list, and I'm just like, all right, this is going to take me 3 hours. This is going to take me another 4 hours. And so, so On A Whim stuff has been quite easy on my list. So I've been really happy to see that, keep up with that stuff and, see through those things. But yeah,
I think that's something we also learned in season 2, right? Is about Anchor in general.
Yeah.
I was listening to some trash TV podcasting on my way back from Vegas. And in one of the commercial breaks, they're like, yeah, if you would like to podcast, use Anchor. It's free. And I'm like, what's the catch? And me and Paul,
there's always a catch.
We were in a drive to somewhere in the desert. So I was, on the way back, we were looking up like, okay, what's the catch? And then they're like, there is no catch with a smiley face. And I'm like, okay, Anchor's the way to go then.
Yeah, they are doing
And I mean,
paid subscriptions now though.
They are?
Yeah, they're offering that. So I'm not sure what is changing or if they're going to change stuff for the free one, but we've been good with the free stuff. So hopefully they still allow us to do what we're doing because it's simple. Anchor made life much, much easier when it comes to podcasts. I
mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Just if Grover had his way, everything at the studio would be automated and made simpler.
Yeah.
For a while there, Grover was trying to convince me to change over go from Excel spreadsheets to some other system that cost I don't know how much money. Yeah, but Paul, I make your life easier, and I'm like, but that costs money. Your time's worth something. Don't lie to me, Grover.
Yeah, it was automated payments for the studio. Yeah, to just go through PayPal instead of writing out physical check.
Oh,
right. But fortunately, the number of checks I've been writing a month decreases as the months go. Sometimes the sum doesn't decrease, but the amount of checks I'm writing is decreasing. And speaking of Spellbearers and Solatria going into alpha testing, Grover, what would you say? Has it been challenging for you to start seeing people wind off the project, or are you as equally relieved?
Relieved? No, and the reason why I am relieved because a lot of it was when there was a lot of people working on Solatria. Most of my day wasn't working on Solatria as much as answering people's questions and figuring out what they were doing and merging their stuff in. Like when 6 people were working on Solatria, and I would wake up the next morning and start merging things in, especially if 2 or 3 people were working on the same asset. I was like, okay, they did XYZ of the asset, and then somebody else did ABC of the asset, and then I have to open it up in 2 different versions of the program and manually switch things over because the software is too old. It can't go through the automated processes that we've set up. So with a newer game engine, I don't think we'll have that problem. But with Celatria, it was just a lot of like, okay, I'm not doing game design on Celatria. I'm just making sure everybody else is getting done, right? One thing that the biggest change I've done with chapter 4 and on, I did all the cutscenes from chapter 1 to about chapter 4-3. And then after that, we have another team member that's taken over, and he did the cutscenes from 4-3 to the rest of the game. So it was a big thing of kind of letting go of like how my vision of what the game would have been like with the cutscenes for him to do it faster and more efficient when I'm trying to put out fires elsewhere. So
Grover releasing control. Now that's one of my favorite Whimindie stories. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was a lot of stepping down on game design and just making sure things get done. And that's been to the benefit of the project too. So rather than me trying to like
micromanage.
No, it's not so much micromanaging, but going in and now I just go in and make changes when it's all like polished and done, and I'm making just minor tweaks like, okay, what he did there wouldn't fit the lore of this character, so I would edit that out, as opposed to making the whole cutscene from scratch. So,
or like I mentioned in the Shadoe episodes, when Shadoe would have a voice actor recording something, and in that moment what the script said didn't make sense in that kind of regard, right? The character's lore or that character in the past few chapters, and it's only because I played through the game that I understand that player character and whatnot. And I remember Shadoe and that voice actor coming to me and saying, "Paul, this is crap. Can we change it?" And on the spot, I look at it and I read it over, and 9 times out of 10, I'm like, recorded the way Grover wants first, and then recorded the way you all want to do it. And I'm sure Grover we can strong arm him if necessary.
Yeah, at the beginning, and I know Shadoe's going to have their response to this too, but at the beginning, it was a lot of like, okay, how is this going to affect the other characters and what they say, right? And at the beginning, there were some issues with that, but I think as Shadoe and the actors got more comfortable with like, okay, we can tear up the script as long as it still makes sense with the other characters. There was a lot less of that, especially in the later years. Yep. And then Shadoe and there was one actor in particular, Shadoe and that actor, they definitely got a writing credit because of the amount that they have changed when simplifying the lines or kind of getting rid of me or John's or other people's quirks in the writing.
Yeah. That was actually a game we started playing. Who wrote this line?
I do recall sitting at my desk and I'm hearing this line, and all of a sudden I hear Shadoe perk up, like, who the hell wrote this line? So I walk in the room and I'm like, let me hear it. And you and the voice actor, whatever, go into the line, and I'm like, I'm listening, and no, that's a Grover line.
Yep.
No, it's got more John in it. No, that's John.
Yep.
This is literally whose line is it anyway?
But except none of you are Drew Carey. None of you are nowhere near as funny as Drew Carey
or Aisha Tyler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we've gotten to the point though where we know you guys so well that if there's a line we can't figure out who wrote it, we just assume it's that one writer that we had for a while. Yep. We're like, oh, that's
another he who must not be named.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man.
So I mean, all this changes that we've gone and seen in the studio. Jabari, is there a change that you've seen since you've been a day zero person, right? You're the inspiration for the voice acting for the most part, right? You're the one who pushed Grover to put voice acting in the game, right? Much for better or for worse. Jabari, what would you say it's like one of your favorite change you've seen in the studio, or your favorite studio moment overall?
See, I'm trying to think of changes and stuff like that. I think in terms of change,
you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I've seen so many things, and every time I'm called on the spot, you know, there's a blank. I'm like, oh wow, all right, this is great. But
So I'm gonna defend Jabari's honor real fast because for that better or for worse comment, I think voice acting is one of the things that really have people really appreciate Lucia, because there was a lot of Steam comments that's like, yeah, I didn't think I was gonna like this game, but it was the voice acting and it was the voice acting quality and it grew on me and I really felt what the characters were thinking, and that's what gave them the whole recommended thing on Steam, right? So I think Jabari's suggestion was for the better, to the point where it saved the project, because otherwise it would just been another generic game.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, I mean, every project needs a gimmick. Every game needs something to draw the person in, right? And I mean, not to knock our artists, not to knock our maestro extraordinaire with his music, but I honestly believe it is the voice acting. But that just keeps people there. Like you hear Lewis, and if you hear I forgot the spell for the 30th time, you don't put the controller down.
You hear that record scratch and the music stops and you're like, oh, why?
Yeah, exactly. So Jabari, did you so I mean, to your credit, you're the one who made the decision, but what change or what studio moment stands out to you the most?
I think in terms of changes, just how at the very beginning, I think we talked about this a couple times during previous On A Whim stuff, but it's just like that the company just got so more official. They're using like Hack and Plan and all these different tools to help organize everything, and it really makes development of games and organization so much better. And when I think what at the very beginning, we just kind of had people huddle into the studio, or just hope that people showed up and I'm going to work on the game. And then we went from we're allowing other people to work remotely and trusting that they'll actually work and contribute, and keeping people on and keeping up with communications with like Slack and now Discord. I think that's a huge change for Whimindie that is really pushing the company, like the interior and development of your games like forward. So I'm really happy that the organization that you guys have implemented into the company, and everybody, the people that have been here since day zero, they're still here. And they're still working. They're still trying to push Whimindie as a company, and that's fantastic. So,
no more Post-it notes for us.
Oh no, they're still there. They're just virtual.
Yeah, basically.
That's all Hack and Plan is. Hack and Plan is just a giant Post-it board with 4 columns, and that's it.
And you don't lose those.
Like, what needs to be done?
Yeah.
No.
Which is nice. I think in terms of go for it.
My one regret is not getting stock and Post-it notes back then, because we used a lot. Or is it 3M? I think 3M is apparently. But go on, Jabari.
You see. So favorite Whimindie moments. I'm always drawing a blank again. But my favorite moments are usually when we're at E3. I know everybody's kind of tired of going to E3, waiting in lines. But I'm always excited for E3, not because of the event. Well, the event is fun, right? Checking out the games and stuff like that. But, what we do after the cons. And, we usually go out and eat and have a team dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And those team dinners, to me, that's what makes the E3 like the best thing ever. Because, we're just sitting together with everybody that... that we usually don't, we're not face to face. We're usually, in front of a computer screen talking to other people. And yeah, bringing everybody together for E3 and eating together and just talking and laughing. That's always great.
Yeah. We haven't had one of those in like 2
yeah.
years.
Nope.
Well, I mean, the before times, right? I mean, we haven't had a team dinner since last year before Level Up Expo.
Oh yeah, that was the last. That was the absolute last one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where was it?
We went to eat. We went to eat with the people from Night Dive Studios, and there was another studio that was there.
That
Oh
restaurant
yeah,
was
and
fun.
I almost killed Paul on the drive over.
I repressed those memories. I repressed those.
It's okay. I almost killed Lucia when we were driving. We left the convention center. We were going to eat at the opposite side of town.
I know that
Mexican
Mexican
restaurant. and I had a light, and then I guess somebody, like, there was a person who was crossing the street, and I couldn't see them, and I almost hit him.
Oh,
So
You mean so
I guess
Lucia
it was an
almost
interesting driving time for everybody.
All bad drivers all around.
yeah.
Hey.
So Shadoe, as the other Day Zero person among us, I think for Grover, right? I mean, he's the founder, right? So, what would you say would be your favorite Whimindie story? And Jabari, remember to come back to E3 because we're going to talk about E3 in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what Jabari said, but mine's not E3. Mine is Level Up Expo specifically. Just like
You always have a blast.
I
over
do,
there, for sure.
but I think it's again just that whole like, oh, these are the other members on my team, and we're hanging out and having a good time. Because during the day we're working at the booth, but afterwards, we go out to dinner, we play video games, and we just kind of become regular people. We're not like Whimindie coworkers, if that makes sense.
Define
Yeah, that's
regular.
Okay, you
people are
got me
not
there.
regular.
I mean, for the record, I'm the most normal one there. So, I mean, that the bars are already like stacked like that. Okay, so good.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not like one specific moment. It's just like I always have fun doing the conventions and showcasing our games.
Okay, that's I like the fact that we can all represent with the studio with our shirts and I'm
Yeah.
I mean, like that if I ever felt official in my life for Whimindie, like hitting the like we've arrived is when you see on the booth table Women Independent Studios and it's it's for us, it's meant for us. So
Yep.
And we've had the biggest booth for like 2 or 3 years.
I have to say,
we had so many games we were showing.
but that's also one of my favorite changes that I've seen in the studio is the change of our booth, because it used to just be like, oh, here's a table, let's put our computers on it, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. I remember one of our artists tore us apart. She was like, you need a tablecloth and you need this and that.
And
like,
now
okay.
we have a whole setup. We have we have the box with all the stuff in it that we need. We have a banner.
We went from one extreme to the other, right? The first year we had nothing. And last year it was so crowded. There were so many wires. There was so many. And it was like, yeah, we need to simplify it. And then
COVID was the ultimate simplifier.
So,
we just don't do it. We just don't do it at all.
Thanos snap.
we don't do it.
Daniel Snap, exactly.
I do have to say, yep. Last year's Level Up Expo was probably the most unique one that we've had, just because of like who else was in town at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I made the mistake. To give insight, there was a certain former president who was holding a rally right next to the convention center. Oh, actually in the same convention center,
Right.
but on the opposite hall. And I made a mistake of wearing a blue shirt that day.
I mean, I think we all made the mistake of just showing up that day.
A minority wearing a blue shirt, walking through
Oh no.
a Trump rally on the way to Level Up Expo. I was seeing they thought I was a protester or I'm not one of you. I'm just going to
Grover's
demonstrate
like, I'm
my
just here to play
games.
games, dude. No, show off games. I'm here to just no.
I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not protesting. I think what you're doing is wrong.
I do not agree with you as a person.
I don't agree with you, but I don't want anything to do with you, and I'm not going that way. I'm not here to fight cops. I'm not here to fight you. I'm just going.
Meanwhile,
to
another person that we know was able to walk past Secret Service security and just walk in there like, oh, you're one of us. He's like, no, the hell I'm not. I'm going to the video game convention.
Wait,
Ooh.
who?
I can we say his name, Grover? Jabari?
the
Night Dive guy.
the night dive guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently he
Night
got
dive.
past all like the exterior perimeter. He just this guy walking through, not minority.
Yeah, all right.
Looks like he belongs. Just strolling past until he reached like the
There we go.
interior security. Like, sir, you don't have a badge. He's like, I know. I've been trying to get to the other video game convention for the last hour, or whatever the story was. But yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I ended up
Yeah.
parking in the wrong parking lot. I parked in the parking lot for all the rally people.
Oh no.
I got free parking
Oh,
somehow,
nice.
accidentally. Yeah, I just drove in and like there was nobody at the booth. And so I walked to the booth that was like right next to the ramp where we offloaded all the stuff. And the guy just looked at me and he was like, you know what? Just take the spot. You're good. I won't charge you. I was like, oh,
they
sweet.
probably charged it to the campaign, and you're probably a line item on a budget somewhere that has not been paid yet. That has not
Fantastic.
been-
I don't think it matters, right?
Well, no,
Anymore?
the city of Albuquerque is suing the Trump campaign for failing to pay to use the city for one of the rallies.
Oh,
So,
I didn't
yeah,
know
well,
that.
he's not president anymore, so he's not exempt from lawsuits, I guess. So, that's a thing now. The city's starting to go after him. Well, you made us get police, you made us get security, you made us parking, inconvenience, people protested. You got to pay us. And he's like, nah, dude, I don't got to do nothing. Flee to Mar-a-Lago. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, based off the taxes
Yeah.
you pay, you can't afford it. Anyway.
Okay. So before I let Grover go on to his favorite Whimindie moment, I guess I'll talk about mine. So I have to agree with, but I hate saying it, but with Jabari and Shadoe, that it's the social piece, right? It's the getting on with everyone, and in theory, everyone goes through me when they're hired, right? So in theory, I know everyone, but I just like I met one of our voice actors, Michelle Deco, one year, and Grover's like, "Oh, this is Michelle, this is Paul," and I'm like, "Yes, we've corresponded," and she looks at me like, "Yes, we have corresponded," because that's the extent of my and this is the before time too, before Adobe signed, so we were actually mailing people their agreements, having them sign it, they have them mail it back to us. Oh, it was a headache.
And some people would mail it back, and then we're just like, "All right, do we cast? Is this how this goes?"
And I mean, there's always people that ghosted us, right? I mean, I don't know how long that list has become. I mean, there's that one guy who just showed up. Dude, give me a shot. I want to do it. Put me in, coach. I want to draw. And Grover's like, show up next Saturday and you can do it. Yay! And we never saw him again.
Wow.
Great job.
Yeah. Some say he's still been trying to get back to the studio.
He goes and knocks on the
Yep.
door that's not there anymore. So I think it's those dinners, hanging out with people, but getting to know all the studio peeps, and but my favorite story is related to Whimindie. I don't know how much Grover hypes me up or Jabari hypes me up as an individual, but I remember going to LVLUPEXPO in Vegas early 2019. It was about around the time, Jabari. Me and Jabari went out there for when Grover was still chapter president of
Las Vegas.
IGDA, and I go there, and all of a sudden, after the keynote speaker for the evening, I have like 5 or 6 people surrounding me, just listening to me rant about AB5. And I was like, "What the hell's going? Why are people listening to me?" And unbeknownst to me, it's after Grover's talked about. I guess I the next best thing to walking on water, from what I remember.
I introduced I introduced Paul to the night dive guy. Night dive guy just looked up like, "Hey, Paul." Never met him.
I know so much about you.
Didn't know what he looked like.
Like he knows my life story already.
Didn't know what he looked
like. I have many things to show you. I'm like, no, you don't. But then Jabari, as we were going out to eat that night, he says, "You are the first person to take the spotlight away from that guy, because everyone usually flocks to him for like to talk to him. Like they want to gather what he knows via osmosis or something." And so I want to say that's my favorite. Like it's because of Whimindie that I was able to get that, I guess, that quote unquote clout, even though I don't want it. But but it kind of lends itself to the whole thing Jabari said, right? Where we've arrived, right? Someone who I've never met before knows who I am. So that's my favorite Whimindie story indirectly. Grover, what's your favorite out of everything you could have imagined Whimindie would be? I mean, it wasn't even called Whimindie back then, but
I'm gonna say something completely different and something kind of new. I would say the first time we completed our crowdfunding campaign and we were able to get successfully funded. And the reason why I say that is we've tried 3 times, right? All over the course of the whole studio. It was like, okay, we're going to try to do Indiegogo. And then we raised $700, right? And it was just like a few family members and nothing else. I had my crash and burn moment. I was unhappy. I stomped around and, got into DGAF mode, you name it, right? And then, right before I quit my first software career job, we did our second campaign. And I wanted the second campaign. I had these, delusions of grandeur, right? That, this was going to be successful. Why wouldn't people like this game? It's gotten like $10,000 elsewhere, right? And like we didn't make it halfway, and I like spiraled down into a depression. Ended up quitting that job I was unhappy at and moved to Vegas, right? I felt like that second Kickstarter kind of changed the course of how I was going to do life the next 5 years, right? Because I was like, okay, that was when I realized that wasn't going to fund itself. And plus the unhappy position I was in, right? And I was like, okay, maybe Kickstarter crowdfunding is not our thing. And, we just let it go. We had that decision like, okay, I can't lead 2 games at once. I'm just going to do Celatria, and that's it. That's all I'm going to do. Fast forward 5 years, 5 or 6 years, we did, Spellbearers. And, it's the first time I saw that game when Jaron came back and he pitched it to us. And I was like, this is phenomenal. Like even seeing it in its alpha stage, I like the light bulb went off in my head. It's like, yeah, we could do this. We can crowdfund this game. This is a concept it's not a super ambitious RPG. It's not, it's a genre that people want. It's a genre that people miss. And we can do this. And, we brought Jabari in and he led his marketing team to do all these things for the campaign. And it was a success. I felt like it was like all hands on deck from everybody, from the development team to make a good game that was gone for a product. The marketing team did art that, they wanted to do art. They were not trained in art. They're like, okay, let's do it. They did all these awesome pictures for the game. We developed our website in 3 months just to get it ready for this campaign. It was really like everybody was involved, whether they think they were or not, to just try to come together and make this thing happen. And people saw it and they loved it. And it was just this morale boost within the whole team. It's like we have the ability to do successful crowdfunding campaigns and make money for the studio. And to me, it was kind of maybe like a redemption story for my personal thing. It was like, I've had all these failures throughout the studio and we finally got that win. and to me, that's why I think Spellbearers is gonna be like, we are really pushing for that to be like our first like really big, impactful, multi-platform game that most of the studio has done work for in one way or another to make that game a success. A lot of the Celatrio team was involved. Everybody in this call is involved in it. You know, yeah.
That was a glorious long rant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good moment.
I got this smile on my face, and I can't imagine why. Shadoe.
Paul smiles.
I know I speak a lot of doom and gloom, and like, you know, I'm negative a lot of the time, but I really feel that I genuinely feel that Kickstarter was like that. That was like, hey, we can actually do shit, and that really made me feel that was. The first one was E3, right? Like, hey, they're respecting us, you know. But that was the moment where it was like, I felt like our studio was actually taken seriously by the general public. When people that we've never met, we don't know, put in hundreds of dollars because they believed in us. They believed in our ability.
And if any of those people that put in for the Kickstarter are listening, you heard it here. We're getting Xbox working, so we are following through on our promises, which is almost a rarity nowadays on Kickstarter. But we're different. We're gonna see through to it. But it comes back down to something that Shadoe, the professional shitposter among us, said earlier this week. You know, sometimes you have to count your wins, right? You have to, you know, even if it means getting out of bed, if it means, you know, using mouthwash, just changing a little bit about yourself, right? Putting yourself out there. And I commented with something Matthew Estrada, one of the other people involved in the studio, would always say to us whenever he'd make this small, seemingly insignificant win, and we're like, was that worth it? And in his ever deadpan delivery, like, every small victory counts. And he later on go on to win, so I guess it did. So so that's why I've adopted that saying. You know, it may seem small in that moment, or it may seem, you know, like it was just, you know, that one thing insignificant. But in the end, every, like River Story, right? Everything led up to that moment, right? Every, you know, he said defeat after defeat, right? Failure after failure. Yeah, but it really did lead up to us being successful, bringing in the right people. If it wasn't for that road trip actually to Vegas, I wouldn't have known Jabari was getting his master's. And no, if it wasn't for that trip to Vegas, we wouldn't have started On A Whim. And if it wasn't for that conversation, I wouldn't have known Jabari was getting his degree in his complex master's degree that he can customize, right? So
yeah,
which led to him be the marketing director, which led to the successful crowdfunding, or part of the reason why.
Well, even with working with Jaren, the director of Spellbearers, right? We did a game that crashed and burned. At the beginning of the studio, we were working on a game for a YouTube series.
Yes,
and we didn't have, you know, we had those post-it notes. We didn't explain. There was no Slack. We didn't explain to the client what was going on, and he dropped the project. And we retooled his version, his prototype into Antics. And Antics wasn't ever a super big success or anything, but Jaren knew, you know, from us working together that we could ship something. You know, it wasn't ever going to be like super successful, but we shipped something, and he really liked that. Because there would be times like where Jaren lived up in the high desert at the time, and I would drive up there. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this one fix for Antics, and then we're going to release it on Google Play, and that's it. I'll be home by 5. I was there till like 3.
Yeah, the wrong 5, not PM, 5 a.m.
5. I got back at 5 a.m. But he liked that dedication with the studio to make that game a success, no matter what it costs, right? And so, you know, when he was doing his game, it was called Spellbound at the time. He pitched it to us. It's like, hey, I want you guys to see the game I've been working on. I would like you guys to do it. By the way, are you still working with Chris Nuno?
Yes.
That's a side question.
Chris Nuno is still around. To my great surprise, he belongs working in AAAL somewhere, but we're lucky to have him regardless. So speaking of the opposite of, well, this is a good redemption story, right? And we mentioned E3 a couple times, but I'm going to talk about E3's seemingly fall from grace. Did you all get that email from E3 about a few weeks ago?
No, but I don't pay attention until somebody reminds me.
Yeah, I forgot.
about the Paul gave you an out and you didn't take it. Anyway, the pretty much what happened is E3 is not doing a physical event this year. They're doing a completely virtual event.
Oh, I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's exactly what they emailed out. And Nintendo and Microsoft like, okay, we'll do it, and some other companies will do it, but Sony is still not going to do anything with it this year.
Well, weren't they doing their own thing at some
Blackjack.
point?
Yeah, one time. No, never.
Yeah.
Well, they did it just a couple of days ago. They had their State of Play broadcast. But the thing is, like, E3, it's like before times, or even last year they were planning on doing a 1 industry day and a 2 public day event. And I was like, okay, that means I'm only going day 1. Because in recent years, E3 would have it to where like they would start inviting just people with regular passes in, and I would be pushed out of the way, shoved, and then the gamer people would come and push me out of the way. And no, but it went from this like developer and industry event to a open to everybody, and that's fine, but there's festivals that are already for that kind of stuff. You have your PAX, you have South by Southwest, you have anime and game conventions, and E3 is trying to keep itself relevant by getting like streamers involved and gamers and things like that, as opposed to just being an industry only event. And yet last year when they were supposed to have it, they were going to turn it into this is the game festival. And I was like, okay, I'm going only day 1, and that's it. Because I'm kind of done. I go there to see trends on the gaming industry and what companies I think we should go towards. There has been some marketing meetings and trade that I went to with some of the marketing team, and it's a great way to meet people and network. But I didn't want to go for that for a game convention because it's trying to become the game version of Anime Expo.
Yep.
And I just that's not why I go to E3.
I mean, as an aside, I remember Grover taking me to visit the Maestro's house to get some recording done, and we drove past the Anime Expo line, and it just kept going. Yeah. And at some point, we go underneath the freeway junctions, and they're on going into the ghetto, and like slowly the buildings start becoming more dilapidated, and people,
and the line just keeps going.
People in their their cosplays and got Ichigo with a giant sword, and I'm like, y'all don't belong out here. You're on the wrong side of the tracks, yo. And
plot twist, there weren't even tracks.
So I mean, that's something I won't personally miss about E3 in any form, is just like Grover said, getting shoved out of the way for a chance to play this game that it's not worth it. I mean, in my head, I'm a pretty immovable person. I'm a pretty big guy, but I'm not gonna throw my weight around or anything to get ahead of someone or get some swag or something. That's that I'm not gonna miss that mob mentality. That's for sure. The running of the nerds from everyone trying to break into the convention hall.
What was it? The Breath of the Wild that they were trying to get to.
Oh yeah, the Zelda Stampede. Yeah,
that year was wild. I actually had to protect a couple of cosplayers that year from a mob of people.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
we gotta hear that story, Shadoe. You protected cosplayers?
Yeah.
Let's hear it. I gotta hear this.
Yes. So we were at the Persona booth, me and a couple of other Whimindie members, and it was a scheduled event time that they were handing out merch at the specific time, and the mob knew when it was going to happen. And so we had gotten in line, and we were there pretty early, so we were kind of at the front of the line. And they had these two cosplayers handing out the merch. And people were just in line behind us, pushing and shoving and trying to grab to get things. And me being me, I'm just like, oh, hell no, I will not let these cosplayers, deal with that shit. So I just kind of, take a power stance, kind of, squat a little bit, pop my legs like into a sturdier foundation set. And I held off all these people behind me. And the cosplayer just looked at me and she was like, you know what? Here you go. You get an extra thing. Thank you.
I mean,
I think it was a bag. I got an extra bag.
I remember the bags.
Yeah.
I remember.
Shadoe, I think that might be the most badass moment I've ever heard about you. I mean,
that I held off a mob.
That you literally held off a mob. I think that wins any story among the four of us tonight.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just me. There were two other people, but I mean, I'm telling it from my perspective, so I'm sure they have their own thoughts.
No, I'm sure they do, but
there was this person that was just holding me out of my way. I was just in line, and they were just pushing me out of the way.
I mean, I wasn't pushing. I was just standing there holding my ground.
I mean, for the record, on the other side, from the nerds, the mob perspective, you're like, you held them off. You deprived them a chance of getting swag. How could you live with yourself, Shadoe?
No. I mean...
Sarcasm.
My number one priority was make sure that the poor cosplayers didn't get,
they survive.
Stampeded and killed.
And I mean, that's something I'll never... Like Charles Martinet, right? The voice of Mario. Like, I'm sure he gets mobbed on more than one occasion. And, he's a pretty big guy. So I'm like... Why would you mob him? Like, he could hurt you. I mean,
he's the nicest person ever, though. Like I know we were he gathered all of the Whimindie people that were in line. Like we were in line for Breath of the Wild or something like that. And he was just in line, and we all did the Mario jump, and we took a picture together.
So yeah, I mean, I'll miss that. I'll miss seeing star power, right? I'll miss oh, that's that person. I remember distinctly, and I'll always retell this story no matter what, is with the maestro, Chris Nuno, we were trying something out on the Nintendo area. And all of a sudden this guy walks over to him, and Chris talks to him, and they say some words that I think was English back and forth, but I could not be certain. And I come back, and who was that? Oh, that's the lead composer of Halo. And I was like, what the that's literally pretty God Among Us kind of thing, and I mean, that's something I'll miss. How about y'all? Anyone want to throw in what they will miss from E3? I mean, Jabari, Shadoe, I know you mentioned the dinners. I'm sure we'll miss that. But
yeah, I'll tell you mine. The first year we went to E3, Gino didn't go the first day. He went the second day, and we pick him up from his house, and he's wearing this white suit with a top hat.
What the?
Yes.
And we're like, Gino, what are you wearing? What are you doing? He's like, I want to be chosen. Chosen for what? I want to be chosen to go up on stage. And we're like, okay. And this is the year Smash Brothers for Wii U came out, right? So, we split off, do our own thing. I'm in the Nintendo area. All of a sudden, I look at the big screen and I see Gino up on stage, facing off against this, random guy for the gold medal or something like that. And Gino's idol at that time was I want to say Mega 64 or something like that.
What was that?
I might have the people wrong. No, not Mega 64.
Game Grumps. Yes,
Game Grumps. Game Grumps. And, I see him and he wins. And I was like, oh, I know that guy. Who's that crazy guy in the white suit up there? Right. And apparently after he got the medal, the Game Grumps came up to him. He's like, I'll give you $200 or whatever for the medal. It was some absurd high number, right?
It was, yeah.
And he looked at them. He looked at his idols in the face, and he said, "No."
And we never saw them again.
And I just
then stop at
the people he idolized them, and he just like, y'all crazy if I think I'm.
No, I think it was for an absurdly low number, like $50 for the medal, dude.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay. But the funniest part was that he met the Game Grumps. He, always wanted to meet him. Was a huge fan. Just said no to their face and walked away.
Shadoe, overimpose the actual trumpet noise or trombone noise.
The other there was another a moment at E3 that I did like. We had just beat the Final Fantasy challenge, and we got our shirts. And the director of Final Fantasy 14, Naoki Yoshida, walks over, and I
remember this.
I idolize him, and so I asked him, like, hey, can you sign our shirts? And he looked at us, and he looked at like the exit door. He looked at us. He says, "Come with me." And it's like, why? Smoke break. And he led us out to the back hall. And, he pulled out a pack of cigarettes, started smoking. He's like, give it, you first. And then he signed for, I think, Shadoe's shirt. And he signed my shirt. And he signed whoever else's shirt was there. And it was just, really, really nice of him to get sign all our shirts. And I still have the shirt that he signed in my office.
Yeah, he actually signed my bag because I wanted to wear my shirt. So I had him sign my Final Fantasy 14 bag. I still have it.
Yep. And, it was me. Like, I'll never wash the shirt again.
Well, I mean, you never wore it either.
I didn't. So. I never wore it. It is pinned up. It is pinned up in my office right next to all my Final Fantasy 14.
How about you, Jabs? You got a favorite?
Good times.
E3 story?
Favorite moment?
Something you'll miss? Or something you're like, oh, thank God it's gone.
I think for me...
Well, to be fair, Paul, they said they're coming back next year.
It's probably not going to be the same.
It's not going to be the same.
Yeah. But for me, I think my favorite moment, was basically alone. Usually at E3, I'm walking around alone. But
you like it that way, though.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, going into the Legend of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild booth, that was amazing. I hated waiting in that freaking line. I waited probably a good 2 hours or so, which is apparently not that bad compared to other people who were waiting for 4 hours or so.
Mm-hmm.
But I waited.
Yeah, I think I was in that line 4
hours.
Yeah, me too,
I think, on the last day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. I was sitting there thinking
what a
to
wonderful
myself,
world.
In this time I'm waiting in line, I could have driven back to Las Vegas and back.
But yeah,
and still be
definitely, yeah. But yeah, I got in line and then actually got in front of the entrance, and they send you into this room, and they turn off the lights. You're standing up with a whole bunch of people. Can't do that now, but
with the Z with the sword and through it in blue. I remember in that little theater.
Yeah,
area.
It was a theater area, and then they play the trailer entrance with the music and stuff like that, and that was my first experience with Breath of the Wild. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it looks beautiful. And I toned out that was the moment where I kind of toned out everybody there. There's nobody there in my mind.
It was just you in the Zelda theater. And then suddenly you turned into Link.
Basically.
Link with an afro.
Sword in your hand.
They open the doors and they let you go into the quad area, I guess, over there. And you see, a huge Link with his arrows pointing out. And it's just the coolest stance. You see all the environment that they've done, all the work to it. And then welcome you into the, if you're ready to play, the freaking beautiful Nintendo showgirls, basically. I'm like, oh, hi, pretty lady. I guess, yeah, I do want to play this game. I'm just walking over.
The booth.
Oh, I see. Jabari calls for the booth.
And they're like,
games.
here's the
Okay,
headphones
all
and
right.
here's the controller. I'm like, whoa, oh my gosh. And then I start playing the game, and they give you a good 10 or 15 minutes into it.
Yeah.
And like I felt like I could live there at that moment. I was living there. And after the game was over, my mouth was probably just open the whole time. The Nintendo girl was probably just looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with him?
No, she's probably used to it. She's probably seen that 1,000 times that day.
I remember the first question I asked when I get into this. I was like, can I play this on the NX? And they looked at me and said no, and handed me a Wii U gamepad.
or better yet, NX? Question mark?
And that's what it was called before.
Yeah. No, they knew. Oh, they knew. The person that the person that was working with me and watching me play, she had a bunch of Zelda tattoos. She definitely knew. She was a Zelda fan. So, but I'm building off of what Jabari said. The other companies, they just have their booth. Like going into Nintendo was always like an experience. Like when it was Luigi's Mansion, you're going into Luigi's Mansion.
Yep.
For the day. When it was Smash Brothers, they had a tournament stage, and they were talking about it like it was a tournament constantly, and everybody's cheering them on. It was always like, Nintendo always made their booths really stand out. And PlayStation was just like, they were just more. Yeah, they're more just like, okay, here's the PlayStation Booth 1 where you can see Spider-Man, and here's PlayStation Booth 2 where you can see Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah, but they also always had like characters walking around through the area. So that was always kind of neat.
Yeah, I remember for Final Fantasy when you guys were playing some boss, I had no idea who the heck it was. But you walk into the area and it's just like cherry blossoms or something like that. It was like a Japanese garden.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah. Square Enix, they Final Fantasy 14 is one of their most treasured properties. Right
Square
now.
Enix,
So,
that's what it
makes
is.
sense.
But
or Square Enix.
It definitely does not beat the Nintendo experience that they all share.
No,
I wish I was
not
there
even
for
a
the Star
candle,
Fox
right?
one.
Can't hold a candle to it. Yeah. Well, listeners, this has been our reminiscing hour for E3, and as
you were talking about how bad E3 was, and then we start talking about all the good moments.
see what I think it is I feel E3 is like a trade show, so I go in it with the business part side of it, as Shadoe discussed. Business Paul goes in, and you guys are experiencing it as fans. You guys are experiencing at a different level. I mean, I've never heard Shadoe's a badass. Don't get me wrong, but I never heard Shadoe be that kind of a badass. So I mean,
well,
so
I have my moments,
right? And then you've.
Well, I disagree with you, Paul, because the big reason why I go to E3 is that I want to get the insight on the trends of what's going around, right? The last trend in the before times was the resurgence of battle royale,
and that's still going on.
right?
That's still a thing.
Fortnite. Yeah. Right, but the first year when Fortnite was popular, it had like one small little booth, and they were giving away like plastic cups that had Fortnite on it. It was like, oh, okay, that'll be something. And then my coworker mentioned it a couple of months later, and he's like, have you ever heard of this game? I'm like, oh yeah, that was a little booth at E3. I remember the first year, me and Shadoe, we were walking around and we saw Cuphead, and Cuphead was on the throwaway display in the far back of the Microsoft booth.
It had no lines.
No line. Nobody was playing it. It was empty. And I looked at Shadoe, and we were having a difficult time fighting I think it was the carrot boss.
Yep. We didn't succeed.
And I looked at Shadoe. I was like, this game is hard, but it's going to be something. And sure enough, when it took off, it took off. Now Cuphead's trophy thing in Smash Brothers and everything. But I knew that game.
But what I'm hearing is Grover has an eye for talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like he knows quality product when he sees it.
Oh yeah.
But I think that comes from you being a fan.
Spellbearers.
I think that comes from you enjoying as many different genres of games as you do. So I mean that's my perspective. Like I go in, I'm pretty much there for the lols. I'm there to hang in and talk to everyone, dinners, maybe play a game or two. But that's not the reason why I go. But that's me though. That's how I go into it. But that's neither here nor there in the future. I mean, we'll probably have one more studio dinner after one day of E3, like the industry day or something. But In the picture.
Yeah, in the
Because we got to have the
picture.
picture. Mandatory. Yeah.
But I mean, the late great Satoru Iwata of Nintendo, right? He said a quote that really resonates with me. He said, "On my business card, I am a corporate president. In my mind, I am a game developer, but in my heart, I am a gamer." And that is I live by that philosophy. You can't know how to develop good games if you don't know how to play good games, right? Or don't know how to see good games, right? So I can't just develop a game if I don't know what the trends are going to be, right? Because you're not going to capture the audience, right? The very fickle audience that's like, okay, did you develop Gears of War, Call of Duty, Fortnite, Among Us? What am I missing? Fall Guys, Minecraft, right?
Yep.
You got to know all of those to have a chance. Like, okay, it's like this, but like this, something that can resonate with today's market.
The elevator pitch, if you will. And
what are the things? Why do people like playing Among Us? Why do people like playing Fall Guys? Why do people like playing Minecraft? It's all things you have to consider when you make a game. What makes it fun? And if you don't know that, you should be making games.
Because everyone wants to be a jerk. All those games boil down to someone being a jerk to someone. Battle Royale games, that's what it is.
Oh yeah, when I play Stardew Valley and I want to tend to my crops, or I want to play Animal Crossing and go to my island, my primary reason for playing Animal Crossing is I want to be an asshole.
No, okay, for the record, a single player game, not a Battle Royale game. The jerk.
It is the very much an online
is the
game.
Raccoon Mob. What's his name?
Very much
Tom Nook.
Tom Nook is the jerk. So there, I still win.
He kind of
I am
is.
still correct.
But you can
Animal
still be
Crossing
a
is
jerk
far from-
in that game. You can go to your friend's islands and mess everything up.
Man.
Yeah, and Deborah was. I was asking Deborah about questions about Animal Crossing, and she just casually mentions Nookazon.
Nookazon.
What's Nookazon?
I remember hearing
Nookazon?
It's Amazon. It is Amazon for Animal Crossing, right? People sell their virtual items on Nookazon so that other Nintendo Switch owners can go in and purchase it with bells, I want to say.
Yep.
Whatever the currency is in that game. Yeah, so it is very
there
much
is a
not
black
single
market
player game.
of bells and of all that. So I remember hearing that from Morgan.
Nookazon.
I mean, just the underground bell market.
Yeah, Morgan,
The-
she has some stuff.
The underground Nook, the Nook markets. All right, well, listener, I hope you've enjoyed our season finale of On a Whim. A preview for season 3 is more of this, more co-hosts, more guests, more different topics being covered, different perspectives. Me and Jabari will still be your principal co-host. And if Shadoe and Grover haven't been scared away yet, I don't think they will next season either. It'd be good to have them both back and having a rotating cast of hosts. We compared ourselves much, kind of just guiding you, the listener, through just all the different Whim indie peeps. And it'd be great to have you along. So until then, shouts out to Lucia Lee, one of the artists for all our cute little chibi faces. Thank you so much. Jabari, thank you for uploading everything. And who am I? I'm missing
Shadoe for editing.
I mean, Shadoe's here. I mean, yes, Shadoe. Thank you so much.
You just thank Jabari though. You thank Jabari for uploading it, and like, oh yeah, Shadoe, they're here.
Yeah, they're here.
They only do the important work of editing
Shadow's
this
the
whole damn
badass.
thing.
So
And you just
Shadoe does not need to be. I already acknowledged them as a badass. So I mean,
That is true.
that's the highest compliment I can give anybody.
yeah. Who's the co-host again? It's Jabari and what's his name?
No, I know. Good.
What's his
forget my
name?
name. Please do forget my. Yes, good.
Started with a
Good.
P.
Grover. So yes, thank you to everyone who's made On the Whim season 2 possible, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. Thanks for being here all the way through the hiatuses. Thanks for hanging in there with us. And this has been season 2 of On a Whim. I've been Paul Vella.
Jabari Lewis Smith.
I've been Shadoe. Oh,
It's okay.
I can edit that so it's not lined up.
Oh, good. Oh, good. and then that's Grover, right?
Grover, say
Yeah,
bye.
that was Jabari speaking as me. Yeah.
All right, listeners. Until next time, keep it nerdy.